Hey YouTube, Evil Shredder here with RetroFiends.com. Recently, a buddy at work told me he had a Sega CD sitting in a box in his house. And he wouldn't do anything with it, so I told him I'd take it off his hands. So he gives it to me. It didn't have any wires, no games, didn't even know if it worked. Hook it up to my Genesis Model 1, and spent a week tracking down all the wires and everything I needed. Finally get everything in, and I hook it up. It didn't power on, so I spent the next week or so looking at YouTube videos trying to figure out the problem. Turns out it was a blown fuse. Spent another week getting all the proper tools and fuses that I needed to replace it. In the process of putting it back together, I was getting really excited, because I've never played a Sega CD before, and I've always wanted to play one. And I'm just thinking, is this going to work? Is it going to work? Get everything hooked up, and it works. Just wanted to jump up and shout. As soon as I get it to work, I go to a local game store and pretty much just wipe them out of Sega CD games, which wouldn't mean many, it was 4 or 5. The one we're going to talk about today, Amazing Spider-Man versus the Kingpin. This came out in 1993, but there was also on the Sega Genesis and Game Gear, and I believe that came out in 91. Let's pop it in and take a look at it.
When the Amazing Spider-Man was ported to the Sega CD, it came with several improvements. It had added animated cutscenes to tie in the story, voice acting, new levels, extra moves, enhanced music, and even collectible comics scattered throughout the levels. You take the role as Spidey. While trying to spend a nice quiet evening with Mary Jane, Parker turns on the TV only to see an emergency broadcast by Kingpin stating that Spider-Man has gone rogue, and that he has planted a bomb that will detonate in 24 hours, destroying the whole city. Now Spidey must defuse the bomb and clear his name.
A bomb that will explode in exactly 24 hours.
Spider-Man plays like a platformer mixed with a beat 'em up. You have access to a ton of moves, from punching, kicking, web slinging, shooting web balls. You have like an invincibility move, and you also shoot Q-tips at people. When you start the game, you are thrown into an overworld map of New York City. There are literally dozens of levels to choose from, making this game feel very open. But in my opinion, there's really no point into going to any of the levels that does not have a boss in it unless you're trying to find all the comics. There's a few different varieties in levels as long as you're going for the boss levels. I find that if you venture out too far from going to the boss levels, that a lot of levels start to repeat themselves. You'll visit places like warehouses, zoos, subways, sewers, electricity faculty, streets of New York, and there's even a pinball stage. The basis of the game is that Kingpin has convinced the whole city that Spider-Man's gone rogue and has planted a bomb, threatening to kill everybody. Now, there are 5 keys hidden, and the Spider-Man must find the 5 keys if he wants to defuse the bomb. So pretty much what you do to find a key is you just find the boss level, you beat the boss, and you either get a key or you unlock another boss that has the key. You don't really have to venture too far out to find them. They're pretty easy to find, but the boss battles themselves, at first, they were pretty difficult. But try it a few times and you can get the pattern down, and it's actually pretty easy, except for maybe the one time where you have to fight 3 bosses at once. That was pretty tough for me. There are a couple bosses that require a little bit of thinking. Just punching and kicking them is not going to bring them down. It took me a little bit to figure it out. But if you know anything about the Spider-Man villains in the comic, you can figure it out pretty easily. Besides fighting the bosses, you'll find that Spider-Man's biggest foes are cops, SWAT members, little girls on skateboards, chicks on motorcycles, apes, and thugs. And the best way to take them all down is to hit them in the nuts. The game controls fairly well. You use your D-pad to move, and you have a jump button and an attack button. And to access the other moves that you have to hit the start button and scroll over to it, and then your web button will actually use that move that you selected. The only trouble I really had was when I was in a ducking position and I need to stand up and shoot a web straight out in front of me. I would end up hitting up on the D-pad to stand back up, but I guess I would accidentally hit the diagonal button, and when I shoot my web, it's actually making me swing instead of shooting the web ball towards the enemy. It's not a big deal, you'll get used to it after a while, but it was a little annoying at first. The music in the game consists of CD quality, cheesy rock music. There's even an original hit by Mr. Big. After hearing that song over and over, you just want to spray webbing into your ears to stop the bleeding. The game features full-motion animated cutscenes with voice acting. Some of the scenes make me question Spidey's real intent with the criminals.
Well, Electro, it looks like your circuit has come up a little short. And I thought you were such a live wire. Kingpin's making another broadcast, and I thought this might be the best way to see it and stay out of sight.
Spider-Man's finally gonna be behind bars, where he belongs.
You know, maybe you shouldn't have been in such a hurry to print that headline, Jonah.
While it's not the best voice acting I've ever heard, it's definitely not the worst. It gets the job done. The graphics in the game are fairly well done. The animated cutscenes remind me of the 90s cartoon that came on every Saturday morning, and during gameplay, it kind of feels like you're playing a comic book. Overall, the game's got a little bit to offer. If you could find it cheap anywhere, I'd pick it up. I wouldn't pick it up for no more than like 15 bucks complete. But if you're in the mood for a good brawler platformer, you should definitely give it a shot. Just want to thank you for watching. Give me a like, subscribe if you want to see some more videos. Visit the website retrofiends.com for even more game reviews. Appreciate it. Have fun gaming.